Namo Namaha, Bhavtam Sarvesham Hardam Swagatam. Welcome back to this channel, Sanskrit Sopanam. I hope you are doing great. I'm also good. And moving on in our series, Learning Sanskrit through Gita, today we will decode the 17th shloka from the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And again, I'm assuming that all of you who are here in this video, so you have seen all the previous videos. So the context, the meaning, everything is so far clear. So without wasting any more time, let us directly dive in today's video. So this is the shloka that we will decode today. Let me go through the shloka once. Avinashi tu tadvidhi yena sarvamidam tatam vinashamavyayasyasya na kaschit kartum arhati. Okay, so this is our shloka, and upon sandhi vicheda, there's one thing you will notice, that this particular shloka have a lot of pronouns. So tat, yena, sarvam, idam, then this is not a pronoun, we will see. Then you also have asya. So we see a lot of pronouns are being used for one and another, and how they are being used. So this all we will see while we'll decode the shloka. As for the sandhi, so of course we have one sandhi happening here, tad vidhi. So this is a jashtu sandhi, and then we also have one sandhi happening here. It is a simple savarna dirgha sandhi, avyayasya and asya. So it is avyayasyasya. So that is what we see in the shloka. But again, all the sandhi details and word by word breakdown, everything is available in the PDF file. Do download that PDF file from the link in the description box in case I miss out anything in the video. So you will definitely find in that PDF. Let us directly now move to the decoding of the shloka. Okay, and we are starting our decoding with this kriya pada, this dhatu roop vidhi. And this vidhi, this simply means that you should know. Okay, it is since it is a lot lakar that we will see, so it is like an order or a request. But again, since we know the context of the shloka so far, so we know that these dialogues, they are being spoken by Shri Krishna to Arjuna. He is directly addressing Arjuna. So this you is Arjuna here. So you can imagine this vidhi as both as an order also, because Krishna in a position of a teacher, he is telling his student that you should know. So as an order also, and as a sincere suggestion also, because he is also a friend of Arjuna. So in either way you can take this. And this particular form vidhi, so this vidhi is coming from the verb root with. So this is the verb root, this is the dhatu with, that means to know. And in the very previous shloka, in the previous shloka only, we saw this same dhatu. But in the previous shloka, that meant to be, because we saw no nasato vidyate. So that vidyate was coming from vid dhatu, that means to be. But this vidhi is coming from the vid dhatu, that means to know. So both of these dhatu, they have the same spelling with, but the meaning is different. They are essentially two different verb root. Okay. So vidhi coming from vid dhatu, that means to know, and the form is second person madhyama purush, because Krishna is directly telling Arjuna. So addressing the second person madhyama purush, singular ekvachan and imperative mood, that is lot lakar in Sanskrit. So from the authority of a teacher, he is telling his student Arjuna that, oh Arjuna, you should know this. Or you can get rid of this word and think of it like an exclamation, no, as an order, that you know whatever I'm going to tell you further. So this is the sense here. Okay, and the obvious question will be, what should Arjuna know? So that is the obvious question. So tat vidhi, that you should know that. And this pronoun here is actually pointing to something, some essential theme that he is addressing in past few shlokas. We already know Krishna is addressing the theme of the self, the indestructible self within us. So that is essentially what we saw, no, tattva. Tattva is basically the supreme reality, the supreme principle behind anything, the supreme existence of anything. So you can think of it as self, you can also think of it as tattva, you can also think of it as the supreme reality, whatever you may want to refer to. So tat vidhi, Arjuna, know that. Okay, so in that tone he is saying, and this form is of course coming from the pratipadika tad. Tad again is a pronoun that we use to represent this only. And this form here, you can already guess, is second vibhakti, that is dvitiya vibhakti. Why? Because you should know that. So it is like an object, it is like a karma of this action, right? And singular ekvachan, and the gender here is neuter gender. Okay, why it is a neuter gender? Why? Because you can already see the form tat. So if it was a pullinga form, so it would have been tam. Right, and a striling tam, so it is tat, so of course it is a neuter gender form. And again, that makes sense also, because if this is referring to that tattva, so this tattva in Sanskrit is also a napunsakling, it is also a neuter gender word, and also the supreme reality, so the Brahma, so Brahma, that supreme reality, this word is a neuter gender word. This comes from Brahman. This comes from this Pratipadika, Brahman. It is a neuter gender Pratipadika. Okay, so it makes sense that it is a neuter gender form here, Tat Vidhi. So I hope this is clear. And now I am again repeating this question that punascha came. That basically I am trying to say that what else? That okay, you should know that, but how else is this thing described in the shloka? And for that we find this statement yena idam sarvam tatam. And this means by which this all is pervaded. So Arjuna vidhi, know that. So this yena, this is of course coming from yad pratipadika, yad pronoun. And yad pronoun, this means that which. Okay, why that which? Because again, because we know we are talking about a neuter gender noun. And if this yad, it was referring to some pulling, if some masculine gender noun, then I would have said one who. Okay, so in essentially in Hindi when you translate jo, so that jo essentially translates to this only, that one who does this gets a reward. So that is when we are talking to some pulling noun, and for a neuter gender noun, so that which makes sense. So this is the pronoun, and yena, so this is clearly the tritiya vibhakti, the the third word case form in singular. Why we use third case? When we want to say by. So that by which. Tritiya vibhakti, yad changing into yena. That is why I am writing that by which. Okay. And then idam. So idam, this itself is a pronoun. Just like we saw, no, tad, this is a pronoun to represent that. And similarly, you have another pronoun, etad, which is used to represent this. And in Sanskrit, to represent this, you also have another pronoun idam that is used here. So idam essentially translates to this. Sarvam. So this, of course, we all know the meaning. Sarv simply means all or entire. Okay, when we have to say everything in that sense. Okay, so yena idam sarvam, by which idam sarvam, this all, this entire, and this entire is essentially referring to this entire creation, this entire jagat, this entire manifest universe. This is what Krishna is implying here. That by which this entire universe, tatam, is pervaded. And now this tatam. So this tatam is basically a kridanta. So we often work with these kridanta, right? What are kridanta? So from a verb root, when we use a suffix. So when the verb roots are modified using some suffix, so it creates a pratipadika. It creates another base, another noun base, another pratipadika. These pratipadikas are called kridanta, and they mostly act like a verb based adjective. So tatam, this is a verb based adjective because it has come from a verb root which is modified using some particular suffix. And these verb based adjectives, they describe whatever noun they are associated with. So with whatever words they are associated with, these adjectives, they describe them, but they also give a flavor of a kriya, of a verb. Okay, as you can see here, that tatam is pervaded. So is pervaded, this gives a flavor of a kriya, a verb also, right? And an action also is pervaded. And what are pervaded? So idam sarvam. So this tatam is also describing idam sarvam, and it is also giving a flavor of a action, a verb. So these are verb based adjective. Anyways, this tatam in particular, this is coming from tan dhatu. Okay, so tan, this verb root, this means to spread, but in a context here, the better meaning is to pervade. Okay, so tan dhatu means to pervade, and this particular dhatu is modified using ta suffix, and we have seen this suffix so many times before. This particular ta suffix is a very commonly used suffix, and I hope by now you all must be familiar with this suffix at least, ta suffix. What does it do? It creates a past participle form. Like from a verb root, it creates a past participle form. Pat dhatu means to study. When modified with this suffix, so the word becomes pathita, something that is studied. Okay, past participle form, something that is studied. So in that sense, tan dhatu, when modified using ta suffix, so the pratipadika is tata. Okay, this is the pratipadika, and this pratipadika will now denote anything that is pervaded. Okay, tan means to pervade. With this ta suffix, the meaning is the past participle form, something that is pervaded. So that will be represented by this new pratipadika tata. Okay, and tatam, why this form? Because again, idam sarvam, all of these forms are the neuter gender forms. We can already see with their look, idam sarvam. So these are all in the prathama vibhakti, in the first word case, neuter gender form. So of course, this tata pratipadika will also take the first word case neuter gender form. So it will change in the normal tatam. Okay, that is what we see. Yena, by which idam sarvam, this all tatam is pervaded. Okay, so I hope this entire structure makes sense. See, Yena. So this here, this particular thing here, that is in a third word case. So this entire structure, as you can see, this entire structure is basically a passive voice. Or in Sanskrit we say karmani prayoga. Because see, with this statement I am saying yena, that there is some element by which all of these thing is pervaded. So this thing here, this is the main karta in the active voice. If we'll use the normal active voice, the kartari prayoga. So I will say yaha. Yaha means one element, that there is some element which tanoti, which pervades. Because tan dhatu means to pervade, tanoti. This is a normal lit lakar form. So yah tanoti, one which pervades. Pervades who? Pervades what? So idam sarvam. Pervades this all, pervades this entire jagat. So in this normal structure, this is the active voice, this is the kartari prayoga. In this normal structure, this is our karta. That is why this is in first word case, prathama vibhakti. And as we always see, that the object, the karma of this action, they are always in dutiya vibhakti, right? And then we have the verb form, tanoti. Yah tanoti, one which pervades. Pervades what? Idam sarvam. Pervades this entire creation. So this is the active construction. So anyways, when we change from active voice, the kartari prayoga, to passive voice, the karmani prayoga, what happens is the karta of active voice, that is in first word case, this changes itself into third word case. So yaha, that is the prathama vibhakti form. This will change into yena, that is the tritiya vibhakti form. And idam sarvam. So these here are in second word case, idam sarvam, right? Since they are neuter gender noun, no. So for them, the prathama vibhakti and the dutiya vibhakti form is, both of them is same. So by looking at them, you cannot see the difference. But as per the grammar, this idam sarvam here is in the second word case, dutiya vibhakti. But again, in the passive voice, the karma, the object, this changes into the first word case. This changes into the prathama vibhakti. Okay, that is why we say also karmani prayoga, because in passive voice, this karma, this object is the main thing. Karmani prayoga, the object is what guides the verb. So that is the main thing. So they come in the first word case prathama vibhakti. And the contextual meaning again is same, that yah tanoti, one which pervades idam sarvam, this all. So this is the active voice, and yen idam sarvam tatam, that by which all this is pervaded. So the meaning is same, the contextual meaning is same, just the structure, the way it is structured, the sentence, that is different. Okay, so I hope this point is clear. Just remember this, that in active voice, the karta is in first word case, the karma, the object is in, of course, second word case, and in passive voice construction, the karta changes itself into third word case, and the objects, because they are the main thing, karmani prayoga, so they become in first word case, prathama vibhakti. Okay, just take a note of this thing. But anyways, that is what Krishna is suggesting Arjuna, or maybe you can think that he is giving order. And again, there is one more adjective, kidrisham, that there is one more adjective for this tata, for this tattva, for this supreme reality. Avinashi, this simply means indestructible. Okay, a lot of you can already guess this word, but again, avinashi. See, if I'll give you another word, avinashi. So, would you be able to tell the difference between this and this? Because again, I will explain this, but at this point, you can just pause the video and see if you can tell the difference between Avinashi and Avinashi. How can you differentiate between the two? Because see, by this point, we have completed quite a few shlokas, right? More than 50 shlokas and maybe even more. So by this point, I think you should yourself ask these questions now. These small things also, you should ask yourself these questions, that grammatically what is happening? Why it is not Avinashi with a dirgha e? Why it is Avinashi? What is the difference? See, contextually you will understand the meaning, that Avinashi, this simply means indestructible. So contextually you will be able to figure out the meaning. But since we are diving into this Sanskrit language, then why not ask these questions also? Because they are not very hard to answer. It is just a matter of asking these questions to yourself. Anyways, the Pratipadika here is Avinashan. So, a lot of you, if you could figure this out, that the Pratipadika here is Avinashan, a Nakaranta Shabda, then that is also very good. It is a Nakaranta Pratipadika Avinashan. And this Avinashi also is a first word case singular form, Prathama Vibhakti singular form. This Avinashi, this is also the first word case singular form. Both of these words are coming from this Avinashan Pratipadika. Both of these words are first word case singular form. So what is the difference? So of course, the only difference that remains is the gender. the gender. So avinashin, if this pratipadika is taken to be a masculine gender, if it is taken to be a masculine gender, pulling pratipadika, then this is the form we get, avinashi, with a dirgha e. Okay, because all these words that we use, no, commonly use jnani. So jnani, this comes from the pratipadika jnanin. Or you have the word sannyasi, right? So sannyasi, this also comes from the word sannyasin. So all these are this nakarant pratipadika and masculine gender forms, pullinga form. But when you see this avinashi with a laghu e, with a short e, then you can sense that this avinash in this pratipadika is taking the neuter gender form. It is taking the napunsakling form. And again, why neuter gender? It is very easy to guess because all these words that are relating to this tat, which is denoting tattva, which is denoting Brahma, all these words we know that all these shabdas, they are napunsakling, they are neuter gender pratipadika. So of course the adjectives that we are using also will take the neuter gender napunsakling form, right? So I hope avinashi. So this subtle difference is also clear. And again, just for the sake of argument, I told you that both of them are in Prathama Vibhakti singular form, and that is true. That in Prathama Vibhakti singular form, you get this form avinashi. But this particular avinashi here is again the Dutiya Vibhakti singular form. And again, for a neuter gender pratipadika, both the Prathama Vibhakti and the Dutiya Vibhakti forms are similar. But if you were paying attention, so tat vidhi. So vidhi, you should know. You should know what? You should know that. So this tat here is the object, the karma of this action. So this tat of course is the Dutiya Vibhakti form. So the adjective avinashi also will take the Dutiya Vibhakti form. Okay, just to show that comparison, avinashi and avinashi, I said both of them are Prathama Vibhakti form. That form is there, but this use here, avinashi, is the Dutiya Vibhakti form. I hope you can understand this. But anyways, I hope this entire first line is clear. That Krishna is telling Arjuna that Arjuna, you must know, you should know that tattva, you should know that supreme reality by which this entire idam sarvam, this entire creation tatam is pervaded. And tata, and that supreme reality is avinashi, that supreme reality is indestructible, it is imperishable. This is the point Krishna is trying to convey Arjuna. So I hope everything is clear. This particular pratipadika, avinashin, this pratipadika also you can very well derive completely. That avinashin. So first of all, you can directly identify the dhatu here, the verb root here, that is the nash dhatu. So this dhatu, nash dhatu means to be destroyed. Okay, nashyati, nashyataha, nashyanti. This is the way the latlakar form goes. Nash dhatu means to be destroyed. And this dhatu, first of all, is modified using ghai pratyay. We have seen this pratyay. That to bring out the bhava, to bring out the, the happening of this verb root. You use this pratyay, the bhava. So nash dhatu, when modified using ghai pratyay, the word, the pratipadika that you get is nasha. And nasha is a very common Hindi word also that simply means destruction. Okay, nash dhatu means to be destroyed, and the bhava of that thing is nasha, that means destruction. And vi, of course, is the upsarga, it is a prefix, vinasha. So vinasha is basically thoroughly destroyed. That V signifies the individual parts of anything. So even the individual parts are destroyed, basically thoroughly destroyed. And in Hindi also we have this comparison that when we say nasha, but when we compare it to vinasha, so vinasha has a graver impact, it is more powerful in that sense. Right? So this pratipadika that we have already formed from this verb root nash, now this pratipadika again is modified using ini pratyay. This pratyay again we saw in the previous shlokas, if you remember. Ini pratyay is when we have to show that someone or something is endowed with this thing, with whatever pratipadika it is being connected to. So when this vinasha is modified using ini pratyay, so the word we get is vinashin. And vinashin again simply means that something that is destructible. Okay, something that is endowed, something that is possessing destruction. So the something that is destructible, vinashin. And again, just to negate the meaning, avinashin, something that is indestructible, avinashin. So that this is how we arrive at this pratipadika from this verb root. And from this pratipadika again we get this form avinashi based on the gender, the vibhakti, the vachan. Okay, so see how beautifully you can, from a verb root, you can trace the entire history of any word. So at least all the suffixes that we have covered, so you can try and practice these words in, even though if I don't explain any word in the video, there are so many things to explain in Sanskrit. So even if I don't explain anything, then you should do your own research in that. That is how you will improve your Sanskrit language grammar and the vocabulary part both. So I hope this far is clear. Let us move with the second line of the shloka. So with this first line, having established to Arjuna that there is some tattva, there is some supreme reality that pervades everything in the entire universe. And that supreme reality is avinashi, that is indestructible. So having established this, now Krishna is continuing and saying arhati, that translates to that some third person, he or she, is able. This arhati, that is a meaning. This arhati, this is coming from the pratipadika, this is coming from the verb root arha. And arha again means to be eligible for something, to be capable for something, or to be able to do something in that sense. Okay, and the form arhati. So again, the very common form, patati, patata, patan in that sense. So you already know it is a third person, some he or she, some third person, singular, ekvachana, and the lakar is, of course, the lat lakar, the simple present tense in Sanskrit. So arha changes into arhati. That some third person is able. Okay, so this is what we are starting with. This is the dhatu roop we are starting with. And of course, the question will be kaha arhati, that who is able. So the response we get is na kaschit arhati. And na kaschit, this translates to no one. Okay, this kaschit, so this is a very common word you see in Sanskrit. In actually the stories, if you read Sanskrit the stories, so kaschit, kechana, kopi, all these words are very repetitive in use. Kaschit simply means anyone. Okay, anyone. This is basically a sandhi is happening. So it is basically kaha and chit. Chit in the sense denote one, kaha is who. So in that sense, basically anyone, that someone, anyone. No, when we continue a story and there was one person who did and this. So in that sense. And since here it is preceded by a na, so na kaschit simply negates the meaning. So anyone, this changes into no one. Okay, and then we are completing the sentence na kaschit arhati, that no one is able, no one is eligible, no one is capable for doing something. What is that something, we'll see. So we'll move on. And that is why I'm asking this question now, that kim kartum, that I'm saying na kaschit arhati, no one is able. So no one is able to do what? Kim kartum. And the response we get is vinasham kartum na kaschit arhati, that to do, kartum is to do what? Vinasham, destruction, no one is able. Okay, vinasham. So we already saw this word, right? Vinasha previously, how it came from the nash dhatu. So I'll not go deep in that. So kartum, I hope you all know this. Kri dhatu, that means to do. And this is being modified using tumun pratyay. So kri plus tumun changes into kartum. Tumun pratyay, the use is again in this sense only, to do, to eat, to study, to play, to walk, in that sense. So kri dhatu modified using tumun pratyay. This is the kridanta we get, kartum. Kartum simply means to do. To do what? So to do vinasha. And since this is the object of this kridanta, of this action, so of course the dutiya vibhakti, vinasham. Basically saying that no one is able to destroy. Okay, and moving on, we have the final detail, that kasya, that I am saying that no one is able to do destruction. To do destruction of what? So kasya, whose destruction? And so Krishna says, asya avyayasya vinasham kartum na kaschit arhati, that to do destruction of this imperishable tattva, no one is able. Okay, that is the sense here. Asya avyayasya. So avyayasya, this of course is coming from the pratipadika avyaya. And avyaya, we also have this particular word category, right? Avyaya, indeclinables. Why we use that category? Because the name suggests indeclinable. Something that does not decline. Basically meaning something that does not change. Okay, so that word category we use in Sanskrit, grammar wise, this immutable, that is the more appropriate meaning, because the indeclinables, they don't change their form. So they never change. So they are immutable. But here, since we are talking about the self that pervades everything, so we are talking about that supreme existence. So avyaya in this context, imperishable. This is the more appropriate meaning. Something that is imperishable, that does not dissipates. Okay, and this avyaya also, this is coming from actually vyaya. So vyaya, this is the main word here. And vyaya, this simply means dissipation or expenditure, like reduction of something, dissipation of something, in that sense. And from this vyaya, from this dissipation, expenditure, we are getting this avyaya. This does not look like, but it is a samasa, because the way we are expanding this avyaya is yasya vyayaha na bhavati. That one whose vyayaha, one whose dissipation na bhavati, does not happen. Saha, that is called avyaya. Okay, so avyaya, this means something that is imperishable. This, see, this, there is a slight difference. Vyaya, this is more like an action, that dissipation, expenditure. But from this action vyaya, we are getting this noun, this pratipadika, that yasya vyaya na bhavati, one whose dissipation never happens, does not happen, that saha avyaya. So this avyaya acts like a noun. That avyaya means something that is imperishable, something that is immutable. Okay, so I hope this avyaya, this is clear. And again, why avyayasya? Because again, this simple, sixth case singular. Because I want to say that to do destruction of, that is what I'm framing the sentence, right? That no one is able, no one is capable to do the destruction of something that is avyaya. So in the prayojana of in this context, we of course use the shashti vibhakti, sixth case, avyaya. This changes into avyayasya, ramasya, balakasya. Okay, and this asya, this simply is the pronoun, the same pronoun idam. And since the pronoun, it will follow everything of its noun, so this will also take the shashti vibhakti. This will take the shashti vibhakti singular form. Idam, this will change into asya. Okay, this is the shashti vibhakti form of this idam pratipadika. Simply adding as a pronoun, that to do destruction of this imperishable entity, of this imperishable self, na kaschit, no one is arhati, is able. Okay, so I hope all the words and everything is clear. Let us quickly see the anvaya along with the translation now. And see, even if this shloka does not explicitly mention tvam, that tvam vidhi. So even if this tvam is not explicitly mentioned, but again, due to this form vidhi, this itself is clear, it is the Madhyama Purush Ekvachana form. So it is very clear that Krishna is directly speaking to Arjuna. Okay, so vidhi, that you Arjuna should know, you Arjuna must know, that by which, yena, that by which, idam sarvam, this entire jagat, because this is implicit, but we know that by which this entire creation, this entire manifest universe, tatam, is pervaded. Tattu, that is indeed. This tu here generally translates as but or Hindi we say no to, parantu. But this tu also gives the meaning of indeed, which is better as per the context of the shloka. So tattu avinashi, that entity indeed is avinashi, indeed is indestructible. So Krishna is basically talking about that tattva, that self, that atman, that brahman, that everything is pervaded by that same supreme reality, and that thing is indeed tattu avinashi, that is indeed indestructible. And so he says that na kaschit arhati, that no one is capable vinasham kartum, to do destruction of asya avyayas, of this imperishable entity. So basically we can rephrase that no one is capable of destroying this imperishable and immutable self. Okay, self in the level of individual jivatma and as the supreme reality in the universal level, right? So that was the entire translation of the shloka. And again, continuing with the thought from the previous shloka. In the previous shloka, na asato vidyate bhavo, that he told the difference basically between the real and the unreal. So what all keeps on changing? So basically this entire jagat, this entire manifest universe, everything in it keeps on changing. So all this is in the terms of that Vedantic philosophy, in that term is unreal. Because the only thing that is immutable, that is non-changing, that is the real. And that is that supreme reality, that Brahman, that Atman. So he is referring to that only. And again, it's very easy to understand with an example that if you create different utensils, you create a glass out of a mud, but from that same mud you create bowl, then you also create a saucer pan, then you also create a bigger utensil, you also create what you say, all different kinds of utensils you create. So from that same mud you have created different forms, you have given different names. So all these different forms, all these different names, it came out from that mud, it will sustain in that mud, and once they break, once they perish, so they will again become that same mud. So just as for all those different utensils, all those different objects of different names, of different forms, just as for all those, that mud is the entity that is all pervading, ever pervading, indestructible. So that is the same for this entire jagat, for this entire universe, that everything in this manifest universe is pervaded by that supreme reality in every different level of consciousness and everything. But everything born is born out of it. It is sustained in that thing, and when it perishes, it merges back to that thing. That is what he's saying, and that is why he's saying that is the only thing that is real. That is the only thing that is indestructible. And again, enforcing that fact that no one in this world can destroy this, because again, just by nature of it, it is indestructible. So that is again pointing to all those contexts we were continuously seeing from the previous shlokas also. But again, I hope this entire shloka, I dwell longer, I think a bit longer in some of the grammatical concepts. But I hope whatever question I raised, I hope all of you try to raise these questions on your own and do your own research, try to find these answers on your own. If any problem, any doubt, you can always leave a comment on this video. You can go back to this video, you can check the PDF sheet, and you can directly contact me also. I'll try my best to help find whatever solution is there out there. But that is a way that if you are learning Sanskrit, let us ask the questions, let us keep us motivated for that thing. So that's the idea here. But anyways, I'll meet you in next video with another shloka. Until then, stay awesome, stay happy. Vayam punah milamaha. Dhanyavad.